Welcome to Voice of Africa. Today, we bring you a powerful moment from the G20 Summit in Johannesburg, where Namibia's president delivered a message that shook the global stage. She spoke boldly about fairness, financial justice, and Africa's right to equal opportunity, not charity. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video and share it so more Africans can hear this powerful message. Now, let's listen to the speech that captured the world's attention.
If our financial architecture is not fit for the purpose, we will continue to see the pressure of a looming global debt crisis that intensified imbalance between developed and developing countries. We are not seeking for free money. We want a fair and equal financing opportunities.
Excellency Dr. Nedumbu Nandi-Ndaitwah, the President of the Republic of Namibia.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Namibia thank and congratulate Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, the government and the people of South Africa for bringing G20 to Africa, placing Africa's concern in the agenda of the summit, and for the kind invitation extended to my country. Guided by the African Union Agenda 2063 and the UN Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, the importance of addressing development priority from the African perspective cannot be overemphasized. Developing countries find themselves on debt trap as a result of capital high cost for developing countries based on the perceived risk that does not reflect the reality on the ground. In the face of unfair financing terms, recently Namibia honored its international obligation by redeeming its $750 million Euro bond on time, signifying strong fiscal responsibilities. However, we are considered by decision makers as a risk country. We need a fair international financial institutions. Being the most meaningful way, we can place people at the heart of sustainable development. Our focus on advancing the transformation of global governance must be underpinned by the common understanding that only an inclusive and representative international system will have the capacity to respond to the present-day challenges. If our financial architecture is not fit for the purpose, we will continue to see the pressure of a looming global debt crisis that intensified imbalance between developed and developing countries. We are not seeking for free money. We want a fair and equal financing opportunities. For Namibia to grow and industrialize our economy, Namibia is welcoming investors to invest on value addition at source for our natural resources, including critical minerals, to yield a broad-based benefit for all our people. To leave no one behind, countries must mobilize adequate resources for development, apply responsible debt management, and safeguard resources for essential social and economic programs such as education, health, and infrastructures. Namibia urges the G20 leaders to strengthen debt treatment framework by providing concessional financing to countries that demonstrate commitment to sound debt management and to be innovative in strengthening others. As we strive towards reducing inequality within and among countries, fair taxation, financial inclusion, and social protection are essential tools. In Namibia, social protection coverage has expanded, with old age grants reaching 98% of eligible citizens, and children grants stand at 66% of vulnerable children. These measures ensure that vulnerable groups that include people living with disability are supported in the path to prosperity. It also allows women and the youth to play their role in development. As I conclude, I can say let us reaffirm our shared commitment to inclusive and sustainable economic growth guided by the SDGs by focusing on 3 pillars. 1, strengthen trade-drive economies. 2, securing financial for development, while responsible managing debts and reducing inequality through inclusive policies. And all these are talking to the theme of this conference, which we really very much welcome, namely solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, President Nandi Ndaitwah, President of the Republic of Namibia. I now call upon His Excellency, Mr. Dick Scoff. I now move on to ask His Excellency, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and the Chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by congratulating our host for being a great host, especially for the warmth and hospitality that he has extended to us. And I'll bring you warm greetings from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The region is currently celebrating its golden anniversary in recognition of various achievements, but also reflecting on the future of the community. We gather here to make important decisions on trade, finance for development, and the existential debt burden. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, trade is not just about goods crossing borders, but about creating opportunities in Africa for over 1.4 billion people and providing opportunities to create employment and wealth. In Africa, we are committed to boosting intra-African trade through effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, a system that empowers small businesses, connects landlocked communities, and unlocks regional value chains. However, we cannot do it alone. We call on G20 to 1, reform global trade rules to ensure fair access for African exports. 2, invest in trade facilitation, digital corridors, and green logistics. 3, support the full implementation of FTAs, such as the AfCFTA, especially for the effective participation of women and youth entrepreneurs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, development finance must move from charity to strategy. Africa does not lack ambition, but affordable capital. The cost of borrowing for many of our countries is up to 8 times higher for advanced countries. We urge G20 to 1, scale up concessional finance and blended instruments for climate resilience, digital infrastructure, and urban transformation. 2, empower national and subnational institutions with direct access to global capital markets. 3, champion innovative tools like diaspora bonds, carbon credit, and SDG-linked instruments that reflect Africa's realities. Scale up climate finance commitments. Africa contributes, as we all know, less than 4% to global emissions, yet bears the highest climate cost. G20 must support the realization of the 100 billion climate finance pledge and accelerate access to loss and damage fund. To advance global peace and security, the G20 must lead the effort to redress the issues of increasing global poverty, economic inequality, and justice, which feeds global security challenges. G20 must work to evolve a more peaceful world in which prosperity and advancement for all is a global goal. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today over 20 African countries face high risk of debt distress, not necessarily due to reckless borrowing, but because we borrow in a structurally unjust system. The cost of borrowing and servicing for many African countries is prohibitively high, thereby diverting funds from crucial sectors such as health, education, and infrastructure, as has been alluded to by many already. The G20's common framework must evolve. We need 1, timely, transparent, and equitable debt restructuring across all creditor classes, intercreditor burden sharing and binding timelines, access to concessional finance and capital on fairer terms, a new debt climate development compact that links relief to resilience, addressing issues like illicit financial flows, profit shifting, and marginalization in global value chains is crucial for long-term solutions. We offer the following recommendations. We propose the establishment of a task force on trade and finance for structural transformation. 2, we call on multilateral development banks to create dedicated credit lines for regional and urban development. We urge the summit to adopt a multi-pronged approach on fiscal space, financial innovation, and institutional capacity as the foundation of a new global economic architecture. And finally, we call for a recommitment to the multilateral trading system that we are used to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd now like to call upon the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, to take the floor.
His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Excellencies, Heads of the States and Government, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to join you today on behalf of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi at the G20 Summit. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the sisterly Republic of South Africa for the warm hospitality and excellent organization of the first summit on African soil, and to express Egypt's deep appreciation to the South African G20 presidency for its kind invitation to participate as a guest in the G20 meetings this year. We also commend South Africa's leadership in steering the group's work and in advancing Africa's priorities. In a world faced by unprecedented global challenges, the G20 has a critical role in addressing the main global economic challenges, including the reform of the international financial architecture to ensure that it is responsive to the developmental needs of developing countries. This includes enhancing access to concessional finance through establishing new financial mechanisms while strengthening the effectiveness of existing ones, improving the business models and financing capabilities of the IFIs and the MDBs, and ensuring stronger representation of developing countries in the global economic governance. It is also imperative to reform the complicated global debt landscape by establishing new mechanisms for managing debt in a comprehensive and sustainable manner in low-income and middle-income countries. We also aspire to reinvigorate the global commitment of multilateralism, including the rule-based multilateral trading system with the WTO at its core, to promote trade as engine of sustainable development and inclusive growth. Excellencies, peace and development are strongly interlinked. The Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit that ended the war in Gaza paved the way for a more stable, peaceful, and prosperous Middle East. We welcome the adoption of the Security Council resolution on Gaza Strip on November 17th, and we stress the urgent need to start the implementation of the second phase of President Trump's plan to deal with the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza through providing the necessary humanitarian assistance and to embark on the early recovery and reconstruction of the Strip without delay, while working at the same time on a final settlement of the Palestinian question based on the two-state solution. Egypt will host an international conference on the early recovery and reconstruction in Gaza, and I invite your countries to participate in it. In conclusion, I look forward to achieving constructive outcomes out of this summit to fulfill the aspiration of our peoples for a better world. Thank you very much.
I now would like to request the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Vice President Kashim Shettima, to take the floor and address us.
Mr. President, Heads of State and Government, Excellencies, let me at the outset express appreciation to His Excellency President Matameta Cyril Ramaphosa for the warm reception in this beautiful city of Johannesburg. May I further use this opportunity to congratulate him on the successes of the South Africa G20 presidency, including his purposeful leadership in steering the affairs of the group in a number of processes and negotiations which will culminate in a leader's declaration. Nigeria, as one of the invited guest countries of this year's G20 Summit, commends the concerted efforts of the group in mobilizing action towards accelerated attainment of inclusive sustainable growth, where financing for development is guaranteed and no one or country is left behind. The theme of the Session 1 of the Leaders Summit, Inclusive and Sustainable Economic Growth, Leaving No One Behind, Building Our Economies, the role of trade, financing for development, and the debt burden, is apt and speaks to the challenges of developing countries. The current multilateral frameworks do not adequately reflect the realities of today's world. Many developing nations continue to face systematic barriers to economic growth, trade, and financial inclusivity. for trade to be truly inclusive. The G20 must take bold steps towards reforming the international financial architecture and global institutions. Only a more equitable and effective system can fairly manage global financial flows, address recurring debt crises, and respond to the needs of all nations, especially those in the global south. Africa cannot realize the positive paradigm shift we seek in its development trajectory without a collective resolve of the G20. Together, we must confront the persistent regional challenges before us, most notably the urgent need for sustainable financing to ensure effective implementation of our developmental priorities. Across many regions, rising debt burdens continue to constrain economic progress and transform local challenges into global vulnerabilities. Ensuring debt sustainability while responsibly leveraging critical minerals for inclusive and enduring development must remain central priorities for the G20. The G20 must, in the adoption of the Leaders' Declaration, take very seriously the need to advance policies that drive sustainable growth, promote financial inclusion, and tackle emerging risk. This includes support for indigenous production, export from Africa, and mechanism to enhance significant increase in FDI flows to the African region. Nigeria has in recent times demonstrated its readiness for both foreign direct and portfolio investments. This progress is driven in part by the fiscal policies introduced by the present administration, all aimed at enhancing the ease of doing business in Nigeria. We are committed to establishing 1,000 active businesses in each ward in Nigeria, with a clear objective of stimulating our local economy through grassroots empowerment, skills acquisition, and job creation. We commend the efforts of the World Trade Organization and its leadership for providing technical assistance to boost fair trade, including through the Women Exporters in the Digital Economy Fund launched in 2024. This initiative has provided grants and technical support to women entrepreneurs and strengthened their digital capabilities and access to global markets. Mr. President, as I conclude, I reaffirm Nigeria's unalloyed commitment to the G20. Let us continue to work side by side, shaping an economic future that uplifts every nation and leaves no one or country behind. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I now ask His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Constantino Chiwenga, to take the floor.
Your Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, Your Excellencies, Zimbabwe joins others to thank the presidents of South Africa's G20 chair. Excellencies, Zimbabwe appreciates the opportunity to engage with the G20 as we collectively chart a trajectory towards inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Over the past few years, our global economies have faced multiple shocks and geopolitical tensions that have disrupted global supply chains. Our shared vision should therefore be one of building resilient and innovative economies that deliver prosperity for all. In Zimbabwe, our national strategy is firmly aligned with the 2030 Agenda and the African Union's Agenda 2063. Our focus is on one, value addition industrialization by moving up global value chain, and two, human capital development by creating decent jobs, empowering youth and women, strengthening and formalizing SMEs as essential drivers for inclusive growth. And three, structural reforms by enhancing the ease of doing business, including the use of artificial intelligence, strengthening governance and improving transparency across value chains. And 4, climate resilience, accelerating investments in renewable energy, decarbonization, climate adaptation, and water security to safeguard our development trajectory from systematic shocks. Excellencies, the G20 must reinforce a fair and transparent multilateral trading system under the World Trade Organization. Equally, critical is addressing the major challenge of assessing affordable and sustainable finance. We welcome efforts to reform the international financial system and propose recapitalization of multilateral development banks to expand concessional and climate finance. 2, promotion of innovative financing through active re-promotion of mechanisms such as the green bonds, blended finance, and diaspora investments. And 3rd, curbing illicit flows by strengthening efforts against illicit financial flows, tax evasion, and profit shifting to enhance domestic resource mobilization in developing countries. The growing debt burden continues to constrain development. Many nations are forced to choose between servicing debt and funding essential social services. We urgently need a comprehensive and equitable debt resolution approach. We encourage innovative solutions such as debt for climate, debt for development swaps. These measures are crucial to restoring debt sustainability while supporting long-term growth and resilience. Furthermore, the G20 Common Framework for Debt Treatments requires significant strengthening. In view of this, Zimbabwe seeks inclusion and active participation in an improved G20 Common Framework for the debt treatment process. We are ready to engage constructively to that end. The journey for inclusive and sustainable growth demands political will and an unwavering commitment to equitable development. Let us reaffirm our collective commitment to building a stronger, fairer, greener, and more humane global economy that truly leaves no one behind. I thank you.
My last speaker in this segment, before we take a break for the family photo, whereafter we will then get international organizations to have their opportunity to speak. I now ask His Excellency Mr. Lee Kinyanjau, the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry in the Republic of Kenya, who are also chairpersons of the East African Community. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Excellency. I'll talk on behalf of His Excellency Lee Kinyanjui, the Minister of Trade and Industry. I wish to take this opportunity to thank you for the invitation and the warm reception. So His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and Chair of G20, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we wish to record our profound appreciation to the South African presidency of the G20 for its diligent stewardship and unwavering commitment to advancing a more equitable global economic order. We acknowledge the indispensable role that the G20 continues to play in addressing the deep-seated structural constraints confronting developing economies. This summit presents an excellent opportunity for us to examine the current state of play in the global economy as we devise the best trajectory towards achieving sustainable, inclusive, and transformative development. In this regard, we wish to express our support for the call to reform the international financial architecture so that it may deliver more substantial, more accessible, and more equitable development financing. As regions, we confirm our readiness to collaborate closely with all the relevant partners to ensure that the East African Community region and the common market for East and Southern Africa and the African continent as a whole are not merely beneficiaries, but full equal participants in the shaping of a more inclusive, sustainable, and representative global economy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome G20 efforts to advance global disaster risk financing, investment in early warning systems for all, and strengthen capacity building across developing regions. We further support stronger G20 leadership in delivering predictable, adequate, and accessible climate finance for both adaptation and mitigation. This includes honoring existing commitments and developing new fair financing instruments that reflect the needs of vulnerable regions. The East African Community and COMESA remain committed to transforming food systems to become more productive, climate resilient, nutrition sensitive, and inclusive, especially for smallholder farmers, women, and youth. Chair, we stand ready to work with all partners, including G20, to deepen cooperation in agricultural research, seed systems, trade facilitation, storage logistics, while advancing value addition and intra-regional trade to reduce vulnerability to external shocks. I thank you.
We will now move on to ask His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and the Chairperson of the Economic Community.
And that was Namibia's fearless stand at the G20 Summit. Her message is clear. Africa is not asking for free money. We are demanding fair financing, equal opportunity, and a global system that respects our value. This is the path to development, industrial growth, and a future where Africans benefit from their own resources. Here at Voice of Africa, we will continue amplifying speeches that defend the continent's dignity and vision. Share this video across Africa and the diaspora, and let the world know that our leaders are speaking with strength and purpose on the global stage. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more powerful moments shaping Africa's future.